That ain't working, that's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Now that ain't working, that's the way you do it. Let me tell you, them guys ain't dumb. Maybe get a blister on your little finger. Maybe get a blister on your thumb. We got to install a microwave oven, custom kitchen delivery.
Seriously, if you had special powers, or special knowledge of the world, would you set up a worldwide bureaucracy to dole it out in small pieces and take money and use it to take money from the poor? No.
Yes.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
No. You'd be using that stuff. If you were really a faith healer, you'd be in a hospital trying to help people and cure people, right? But no, the faith healers are there in front of audiences bilking them for money, right? They're not in...
Now see, here's where I might disagree. I think if I could touch somebody and actually just heal them, regrow limbs, cure cancer, whatever. I think I probably would be in hospitals healing people. I don't think I would necessarily ask for money. I might accept donations because I have to live. Mm-hmm. And if I'm spending all my time doing this. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to be utterly magnetic.
You don't have to be altruistic or whatever.
But I would always demonstrate and both my ability and actually do the whole I've done some work and received some compensation and not just talked about maybe doing some work and received the compensation. That just doesn't work.
Right. You would cure amputees, for example.
I would.
Which God can't do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's terrible at it.
So let's see. If you could talk to the dead, you'd go and you'd solve crimes, right? But we don't see too much of that.
Actually, before I started solving crimes, I'd actually find out what it's like to be dead, where they are, and have them describe what happens after death. And so that's a big issue.
Yeah, a lot of people are very curious about that.
And then I might go out and solve some crimes.
Yeah. So those are some of the things you might do. Well, ministers are constantly in the news for their abuse of power. They're abusing kids, they're stealing money, they're doing all sorts of lies and these sorts of things. But we have never, ever, 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 ever heard of them abusing a supernatural power. It just never happens.
Wow.
And that's because they don't have any supernatural powers. They don't have any special knowledge. That's why.
He prayed for God to ruin my life and it happened. I want to sue him.
So all their power comes from their ability to con people and rob them and using unverifiable claims. And so that's how they work. And Russell brought this up on his financial scams show. It's like, where does the money come from? It comes from you. Churches are very much like casinos. They're these big, beautiful places. They're opulent. You go in, you play the odds, right? Maybe you'll get something out of it. You're putting stuff into it, and try your luck. And all of that opulence is paid for by you. Both in Las Vegas and in the church, and that's
where
at
least Vegas is honest about what your odds are.
God doesn't have any money, right?
We've talked about this before. This idea of the reason there's no misuse of the powers because there isn't any power, and we've given lots of examples. So, an example, both teams are going to pray before the football game starts. Should the losing team claim that the other one cheated because they prayed, or their prayers were answered, or their prayers were
and why are
done more properly?
They praying for that instead of something better?
And I'd be more than happy for we want some demonstration that prayer actually works. So, for one thing, if you're a nice kind of person and you would rather not see anything bad happen, you could demonstrate that prayer works by praying for God to demonstrate himself to me in a way that would not only enlighten me, but allow me to enlighten other people as well. That's a decent prayer. I wouldn't call that a misuse. But I'm happy for you to go ahead and, let's say, pray that I get struck by lightning. I might get struck by lightning, regardless of whether you pray or not. We should pick something really, crazy. Like I get mobbed and run over by a bunch of naked roller derby queens in my room. Surely the creator, all-power creator of the universe can do that.
That should be small potatoes.
Trivial.
Small potatoes.
I'll not only be happy to go out that way, I'll videotape it as proof that your prayer came true. Give me some tattooed brazen hussies with roller skates just banging into me and tossing me around the room. I'll kick it off nice.